Okay, I will call the Great Cloud Island Township Board meeting agenda for January 18th, 2023 at 7 p.m. to order. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first order of business is discuss treasurer, and possibly vote on an appointment for treasurer duty. You want to come?
What do you want me to say?
Just introduce yourself. Tell us you were interested in the treasury job.
Yeah. Keisha Jones. I live at 9120 Great Cloud Trail. My husband and I moved into the township in December of 2020. I'm in a farmhouse over there. And yeah, interested in the treasurer role for the township. I do corporate finance for my day job, so I've always loved numbers and
that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Any questions for me?
Did you find out we made it a volunteer position?
No, we did.
Sounds good. Oh, thank you.
I'll make a motion to have Keisha be our new treasurer for the year.
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 For the year. And he's got 2 years left.
Well, he doesn't want to do
The
normal
term.
stuff. He's gonna. Or did you want?
You haven't asked me anything. What are you asking?
Or do you want to be the treasurer?
I've said that I would, yeah. I've been making that clear the whole time.
Oh, I thought you said you didn't want to do the normal stuff, just the board of audit.
No, I said I'd finish out my term.
Scott wanted to finish out the term, and we had
Tell me guys this.
you guys at the last
2 months.
meeting think that you can't have him finish the term because of legalities. So you wanted to maybe appoint.
I was going to finish the term and get to 20 years and call it good. But, and I thought I made that clear a couple times now.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
But you found out we couldn't, right, Paul? By state law?
No, we can't.
No.
No, it's
Can't.
can't.
Why?
Because he doesn't, according to statute, blah, 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 357.03, if he doesn't live or reside in the town, he can't.
But there's
Anybody that doesn't reside in the town cannot be a treasurer, and anybody that can't vote in the town can't be a treasurer.
So we have an option: either appoint a new treasurer and appoint Scott a deputy, or to just appoint a new treasurer and have Scott step down. Something.
And then option 3 would be to go the harder route and have a special election and ask the township if they would want us to change the appointment or change the treasurer from elected official to appointed. And that's something we don't really want to do, I thought.
Want me to try and
Special
simplify
elections
this?
cost money.
yes, I do.
Okay. We got a letter from the minutes. At first, we thought we could appoint Scott. Okay. We thought, we were under the understanding he couldn't be the treasurer because he's moving out of the township. Then it came across at the last meeting, it was questionable whether that was correct or not, whether we could appoint him. Then, since then, our clerk got a letter from the attorney, or from Minnesota Association of Townships. And Nesbitt was saying, talking some statutes, and what he was saying was correct. But the state constitution, according to Minnesota Association of Townships, says an elected official, not just us, but anywhere, has to reside in the area they're representing. So that means Scott cannot be the treasurer because he does not reside in the township. That's why under Minnesota Constitution they said, not the statutes.
And that's immediate, after you've been elected, that's immediate?
Anytime you'd move out, it would happen. Well, you know, they didn't say when it happened, you know, when it would take place. I would assume technically, as the minute you moved out, it would be in effect, you would think. Okay, but who's going to throw us in jail if we do something a little bit different? Okay, so now our option is we can appoint a treasurer. But to appoint a treasurer, they have to be legal voter. They got to be able to vote and live in the township, be a voter in the township. So we can appoint her because she's a thing. Now, what I seen in an email from Scott is he would be deputy treasurer for the remainder of the year, but he wanted a full year's wages for it. And I'm myself, is that correct?
Well, here's the thing.
Okay.
You've asked for me if I want to raise the last 2 times. I said no.
Yeah.
I don't need a raise. But 80% of the work is in the first 3 months of the year.
Okay.
So what I don't want to have happen is I have to do January to March, and then it's like, oh, see you later. I mean, this is the worst. This is the worst month, and it got doubled up with this board audit.
Yeah.
And then March is the annual meeting, and then it's, you know, then it kind of goes the other way for a while.
Well, we don't have any choice but to pay her. We have to pay her because it's by ordinance. We got to.
Okay.
Okay, so we got to pay her. The question is, when do we start paying her? Okay. And I wouldn't mind keeping Scott on. It's a question of how long does he keep working and how long do we pay him. Personally, myself, I'm not going to pay Scott to be a treasurer for 12 months. I mean, even if the bulk of the work is in the first 3 months, you know, that's life. I'm willing to come up with some type of compromise to pay both for a period of time. Now, what we did do with our clerk is we're paying our new clerk, and at the last meeting I suggested let's just give Cheryl a half month's pay because of the time she was spending with Pam. And she wasn't even expecting that. Okay. Now I don't know how much work yours is compared to hers, but I'm looking at something similar to that.
Pam,
First let's deal with her pay. When are we going to start her pay?
It would be, well, right now.
I would suggest, if this is fine with her, we give her half month's wages for January and then full month starting in February.
Yes, sir. Prorated,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Do you want to figure out Scott's work or like?
No, I'll do it him after you. Okay, one at a time. Okay, I'll make a motion to give her half month's pay for January and then start in February, the normal treasurer's pay.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we gotta talk about him.
I guess, I don't know, it's confusing.
What sounds fair to you, Scott? I mean, you know, you heard my position. I'm not willing to pay 2 clerks for a year.
Yeah, what are you asking me to do? I can send my files to Keisha and run,
Yeah.
or I can work with their trainer and spend a few months on it.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah, so I mean, what are you looking at, 2 months or something, or? I mean, if you can't train her in 2 months, we got a problem anyway.
I can. You're basically asking me to do all the crap for 3 months and then.
Oh, so you had
a bad taste in my mouth after.
well, yeah, so you had a good in June, July, August, September, October, November.
Why don't can we do 6 months? Can we just give them 6 months, get through the thing, and, I mean, you're sweating pennies. I don't know.
Well, that's up to you two.
Somebody that served 18 years to pull the rug out, I'm
Well,
not on board.
you know, I'll dispute that. Nobody pulled the rug. It's state
I don't
state
see
constitution.
it, and the way I read the state constitution is you're not eligible to run. I haven't seen definitive writing that states that you just can't serve the next day if you move, but that's just.
Well, that
I'm not
comes
sure
from
I'm
Minnesota
not-
Association of Townships.
Definitely.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's
I
not
mean,
a problem.
regardless, we would have an option to appoint me treasurer and have him be deputy too, and continue to serve if we really wanted to, and I wouldn't take a wage, but we have somebody willing to step up, and I think that's hard to find, because we don't know if we would later on, but I think at least 6 months, I mean, that's what, $3 grand? I mean, what, and he hasn't taken a raise over, I don't know, $3,000 to get us through the budget, help
Well,
pick somebody up to speed.
We did ask him if he wanted one too, and he said he was happy with where he's at, so. Every year we did that.
I said it was fair.
Yeah.
But I also told you every time, there's like 4 months that are really,
Yeah, right.
I get screwed, and there's 6 months where
Yeah.
it's not. So,
I'd like to see him work for 6 months hand in hand, get half a year's wages, and if he only needs to help out for a few months or whatever it takes to get them figured out, then great. You
What do you
guys
think,
can
Paul?
decide.
Yeah, I'm okay with
I'm
that.
fine. 6 months, that's fine.
Thank you.
So June? Through June or up
6 months, January, February, March, April, May, June,
through June?
through June. Is that what you guys are recommending?
Yeah.
Somebody gotta make a motion then.
Dan,
So we make a motion to appoint Keisha treasurer.
That's already been done.
and Scott deputy
She's
treasurer.
all done.
Okay, so we gotta appoint Scott deputy treasurer through June, through July 1st, June 30th.
Do we have to appoint him deputy, or do we just?
Yes.
Oh, we do. Okay.
So I make a motion to appoint Scott deputy through June 30th.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
With 6 months paid, correct?
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we have to change the annual meeting from 8 to 7? We weren't in the minutes from the last meeting, it was supposed to be at 7?
Thought it's always.
You guys
I
said
think-
8, and if we could change it to 7, we'll do that at the next meeting.
Oh.
Okay.
This is the next meeting, so
Oh,
I'll make a motion to change the annual meeting time from 8 PM to 7 PM.
I'll second that.
Motion made, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Animal control?
I just asked Pam to put that on. I got called from a resident that they had animal control come out, and I guess I was trying to figure out, do we have a standard for what constitutes animal control to come out to do like a wellness check, or is that, how does that process play out if it's not like if it's not like an emergency? I'd just be curious to know how, because I had no idea we were sending animal control out, and I feel like maybe we should or not, or how's that process all work?
Well, so the resident, I think we're both, it's Tucker, and he has horses on his property. You have to have 2 acres to have 1 horse. And I think it's got 6 or 7.
So Tucker has 4 miniature ponies. The biggest one's about 120 pounds, the smallest one's probably about 65 pounds. So I guess when I look at our ordinance and I read our ordinance, it goes by animal units for grazable acres and stuff. But I guess my concern that I have when I see something like this is he's on the end of the line, no neighbors to the one side, and his immediate neighbor has like 10 goats, some sheep, some ducks, some chickens, all that stuff. So when I break down through our township ordinance, I actually come up with his neighbor has more animal units than what he does, and yet we're not sending a wellness check out to that property. So I guess I'm trying to figure out what our method or what our reasoning for, is it personal, or is it, you know, what, because Patrick, his neighbor, doesn't have grazable acres, and I can tell you, I don't have grazable acres for all my animals either, so what is our, I feel like we need to have a fair fair process or a reason. And I kind of, you know, I hear from somebody that lives there, and I kind of take the stand that I agree he's getting picked on almost, and I don't want to feel that way.
Well, it starts with the, you know, the lawsuit he got from his dangerous dog mauling that the neighbors, if they're married, would be her mother-in-law, and she was out walking her dog, and one dog attacked, and the one dog attacked, and then the other dog was the one that did the damage. And that yeah, puts a really bad feeling. I mean, we had to have the police come down, and then they got the dangerous dog signs, and he's leaving the gate open all the time.
So and I made that clear at the last meeting, he no longer has dangerous dogs because we did not complete an investigation.
I saw one of them out running.
And having a loose dog is different than having a dangerous dog loose. So by
That
law,
was
his
the one.
dogs,
That was the one that mauled her.
his
So
dog
he's
Diesel,
not-
per the investigation, Paul, I'm on the township board, and that's all I can do is use facts. So when the police report and animal control was out of the house, and she told him to take the signs off his front gate, and that his dogs are not considered dangerous because they did an investigation, that's facts that I have as a board member on the situation. I heard, and it sounds like a very bad situation, but when we pay animal control to do an investigation, we pay the police to do an investigation, and they come back and say, no, these dogs are not dangerous. His dogs have no need to be in confinement. The dog Diesel that was involved was rehomed anyway, but none of that matters. And I'm struggling to understand how 2 dogs have to do with 4 miniature ponies. How is that relevant to miniature ponies?
Well, I think we're kind of getting off the subject. Wait.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how we come up with wellness checks, because I think we
Well,
need to
that's
be
what I was
aware.
saying, because you mixed in wellness checks along with animal units, how many animals you got. It don't sound like anybody's questioning the number of animals. Somebody must be questioning the health and welfare of the animals. Is that the case?
So that's what I guess I'd like to know, is why, because Patrick has way more animals.
Wait a
than
minute,
me.
just stop there. Nobody's questioning the animals from what you're saying. It's a wellness check of the animals. Are
So
they
did
being
the clerk
fed
receive
water?
a call that the horses looked unhealthy, or what?
Well, that's my question.
Did we get a call for that?
You say there's 4?
There's 4 miniature ponies, and the largest one is 100. I mean, it's a small. The sheep next door are just as big as the horses.
The neighbor says there's 7.
So there's
We're still mixing things. Let's separate the number of animals from this wellness check thing. Because it sounds like the only thing they were called for was wellness check, not number of critters, right?
Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
I did receive an email from Rick Carmen of Companion Animal,
Yeah.
and she was actually asking me what the ordinance is for having animals on per acre. How many.
Okay, how
So
many
she
you have.
actually did ask me that.
Okay, well, what was the original call for though? Wellness check of the animals?
Wellness check of the ponies and dogs running loose.
So what'd she come up with?
She only asked me that question. She did not have answers for me yet.
Okay.
So you got a call or an email from a neighbor stating that the horses looked unhealthy or something, so they wanted to call? Because I know they don't make any noise. They just sit there.
Yeah, it was about a worry of the ponies. They weren't sure if there was enough hay and or water. So
And that came from right next door, because there's only one property that can see those horses that even exist there.
That came from Paul Schoenberg to me.
I, as a board member, we've dealt with Tucker. We had some issues when he moved in, some noise citations, but then we had, 30 emails on cats that weren't even his. And so I think some neighbors and some people have associated a really bad taste with him and are really picking on him. And I know I've gone to 2 of the neighbors over there and told them to dispose of the wild cats however they feel, but when they send emails to the township saying they're his cats, they're not his cats. He has 2 healthy cats that live in his house. So when I see email after email with Tucker's name on it, and barely any of the situations actually regard around Tucker, I think it's leaving a pretty bad taste. And I actually feel, to me, if we're sending a wellness check out, I should have a wellness check at my property, at Patrick's property, at Lynn Utek's property, at every property that has animals, if that's what we're doing, because those animals, and I can guarantee from the deck, his only neighbor that can see those horses, you can tell he has a trailer that you can see the hay, you can see the water that's there, you can physically see that those animals are taken care of every day from that property next door. So I find it very, very gray area of what we're doing to a resident, and that's just my strong opinion on how it is, because when I had an animal, and that's why I got into animal units, because he has nowhere near the animal units that the neighbor right next door that every other property around also sees, that's got giant compost piles, that has blocks all over his yard, pallets, runs a skidster 24/7 for his day job, but yet we get 0 complaints on that property next door, and then we just get them for the one that's on the end. So I think as a township, you know, neighbors or people sometimes send emails, but I think we need to come up with a better system so that we don't have harassment from the township going on to property owners. That's just my opinion on the subject. And I'm not sure what the right call to make is, but I don't think animal control should have been out there to check on wellness of his horses without,
We don't have results yet.
oh, I already know, so they're good, they're fine. But I talked to the lady that she's gonna get Pam the information. But that still doesn't change the fact that they're called and we're not calling on other neighbors or other people that are in the same situation. So I just don't understand. And if you called from your house, you can't even see the horses, you can't hear the horses. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Don't know a more polite way to put it, but I think we should look at coming up with a system for non-emergency that if we have a property that's called on or emailed on, then maybe the town clerk should send each board member a email and what's going on, and then we could individually send an email back to see how we want to handle it, because sending her out costs the township money, and we should all be putting our voice in on that.
So what, we're waiting to hear back from her if the horses are fed and watered?
Right, and if he has dangerous dogs.
Well, the dogs were part of it too?
Yes.
Oh, I thought the dog thing was all done, I thought they weren't dangerous. Or, what do you call it? Considered dangerous or tagged dangerous or whatever.
They are, but every now and again because he has his door open, so they leave the yard every now and again and go out the street. And I think all those neighbors are under the assumption that those dogs are still dangerous or something's going on, and I'm not sure. He gets calls for loose cats, feral cats, you name it. It's got his name on it, so.
Well, let's move on to other. What?
So, no, on his request for a plan, nothing on that yet?
Well, we don't get other complaints from other neighbors.
Well, I think we should enact a plan that if we have a non-emergency, that all of us board members are made aware of the situation, and we all put our input to, like, if this were to come up again, if we were to get emails saying, hey, this property's got 2 pigs out back and we want to do a wellness check, then I think all the board members should get email from the clerk, and we should all decide on that, I guess. I mean, I don't know, it's just, I think what happened here is pretty, I think it's just picking on somebody and trying to hold. He hasn't had a noise citation in over 3 years. We went through all the other stuff. I mean, that was 2 years ago. At what point are we going to let this kid just live his life and not be bothered daily? But when he's doing no, trying to do better.
That may happen after this animal control is done.
So would you be on board with, when we have animal things come up, that we could have Pam email all of us with animal situations that aren't emergency? I mean, emergency would go to 911 anyway. But I think here it should have been, if you had a concern or somebody else did, we should all get emailed. And I know the horses got brought up at a meeting 4 or 5 months ago when he first brought them there, and I said very clearly at that meeting that if we're gonna go after people for animal units, then we need to go after everybody, because it's gotta be a fair system. We can't just attack somebody because we've had bad timing with them.
If you're gonna do the email thing, I'd suggest it 24-hour clock, so Pam doesn't have to chase you all down to get an answer. If there's no answer,
Move forward.
move forward.
Well, that gets into a little gray area there, because we're not supposed to do anything unless it's a public meeting. And us sending the stuff back and forth to the clerk, somebody could twist that around real quick, it's a public meeting. You know, I mean.
If you would just reply to the clerk and she can take majority or no?
Well, what's gonna happen after that's gonna come, well, I sent it to Dan, he said okay, sent it to Paul, he said okay, sent it to Dick, he said okay.
Who are you worried about that's gonna catch you and do what to us?
Well, maybe the person that owns the animal might not like that. I'm looking at two separate issues here. One, animal units, too many animals, having a horse, you can't have a horse, or that's one issue, and it's a non-emergency issue. Nobody's gonna get hurt doing that. A dog running loose or a dangerous dog, something like that. We have a dog ordinance. We have a dog ordinance for a reason. People don't want dogs running all over the place. That's separate than the number of animals or the use going on and what have you. I think the uses, the number of animals per unit, that could come to us to make a decision what we want to do. But in a case of a dog running loose, a dog biting somebody, that's why we have the dog ordinance, to follow the dog ordinance. So use the dog ordinance, and I think that's why we hired this companion animal control. If there's a dog running loose, what's the procedures? The resident's supposed to call the clerk calls that companion animal control, and they go investigate, right? Is that the way that's supposed to work?
I'm not sure, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with that. If the woman goes out there, I don't think we could have them check I would say the animals per unit, that type of stuff, she could report back to us, but that'd be for us to make a decision as what to do about it. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why we've got an dog ordinance, that's why we've got animal control. And if there's somebody thinks an animal, the welfare of the animal, that really shouldn't come to us first either. If there's animals somewhere being abused, that was part of
It's
the.
911, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you could call 911 on that too.
If an animal-
But was that part of that companion animal control too? Was, misuse of animals or not?
I'd have to,
Yeah, I'd have to look at that one.
I think
Or
so.
like you say,
Yes.
people could turn right around and call 911, say, hey, I got a neighbor here, he's been gone for 3 weeks and his horse is standing out there with no food. Or whatever happened to be.
And that's all that's the only reason with this. There's hay and water. I've seen it, I know it, and you can see from the balcony, like, if I would've got an email from the clerk saying, we wanna do a wellness check to see if this horse is there, I could've just sent an email back with pictures here, or.
But that's a resident there might be somebody else over there that has one that none of us know, none of us see, and we really don't have the right to go nosing on their property. That's
No,
what
but shouldn't we also have really good justification to be able to send something out?
Well, police get called all the time and stuff, on their neighbor, what have you.
And that's all I'm saying. Whatever you guys want to do with animal control, I'm just saying, I really, as much as I understand Tucker's had issues and stuff, run-ins with the township, when I see a property next door that has animals running ragged and manure piles all over and stuff, and for them not to get called in the same manner, I'm just a human being, and I offer equality on every level of playing field, and I have no issue with somebody calling to check how many adults I got with the horse and stuff. I think if we're doing that, we should do it for everybody and not pick and choose properties when there's If it's a dog barking, yeah, you're gonna call. If it's there's just no noise, there's literally nothing a little tiny 100-pound horse makes that executes for somebody to raise awareness or something like that. It just doesn't sit well with me, but that's just my opinion. We can move on. If we don't want to make a plan, if you guys don't want to see stuff, I think a situation like that would be nice to get an email, but if we don't want to do that, we don't have to.
Well,
No, I agree.
I would say if you know,
If you get an email,
I'm not trying to stand, and that's what, like, I don't want to, like, feel like I'm trying to stand up. You guys put me in charge to deal with them in the beginning, and I did. And like, the noise stuff, he snowplows. He starts his diesel truck at 2 in the morning to go clear lots. That's what he has to do, that's his job. They live 50 feet apart, whatever, those houses are tight. Like, we haven't had a citation for over 3 years. We had to deal with the city, but that was 2 years ago now already, basically. Like, at some point, we have to get the bad stuff out of our head and just, you know, that the amount of negativity we had, half of it wasn't even regarding him. And I mean, some of those neighbors, I talked with both his immediate neighbors, and I don't know what they're doing with the feral cats now, but I don't hear about them anymore. And I made it very clear that 2 cats, you can see them from the neighbor's property. You can see Tucker's cats sit in the window all day long. Any other cat that comes over here without a collar, whatever you feel like doing, shoot it, haul it away, call animal control. Do not send a township email because it's not Tucker's cat. Like, sometimes the neighbors are wrong, sometimes people are wrong in the situation, and I think there's got to be just a fair avenue and a new slate for somebody also. So the horse thing kind of, I don't know.
I mean, I don't have a problem with the clerk sending somebody an email. If you know anything about this, if you've seen it, I'm just warning this to be careful that I don't want it in a public meeting where our clerk says, I sent it out to each board member, and I got a response back from all board members, and between the 3 of them, they decided we should do this. If the 3 of us decide to do something, it's got to be done at a public meeting. That's all I'm trying to cover.
well,
So we don't get in trouble.
that's why Cheryl had people send, the 3 of us send individual responses, and then so we're not sending
Reply all.
yeah, it's not a reply all,
Yeah.
just reply
You still just got
to
to
Pam.
be careful on that. That's,
And it's true, the lawyer or our attorney just talked to me about that today to make sure I understood that.
Yeah. Well, I remember you reminded us not too long ago, you said that in one of your emails, you said make sure you just reply individually or whatever, you should remind us.
just got to be careful so it don't look like you're having almost like a Zoom conversation on email.
Yeah, but from here on out, we'll do them individually.
Okay. I get that, and I
Yeah.
understand that.
Rant's over.
It's about time.
Anything else? Yeah.
All right, other, I would like to talk a little bit about wholesome mining and the potential annexation of 600 acres of wholesome property right here. Any thoughts on that?
Is that across the road in this? Or what is
That side, this side, all of this.
so aggregates driving it? Or Olson?
Olson is driving it through Cottage Grove.
To try and get Cottage Grove to annex it? Personally, if that's what's actually going on, I think we should put a township letter together and get it out in the Cottage Grove community pages and into the community residents so they know what their people they've elected to do are trying to overstep. You know, to me that's not how government works.
That's a really good idea.
But I think we should bring, I know the golf course had I don't know what's going on with the golf course, but some people stepped up with that.
Do we have anything official on that? I don't want to be
Yeah.
putting
No,
something
yeah,
out
no.
that's not official, you know what I mean?
Paul, were you officially contacted?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, who called you or whatever, or what happened? It was a low down on the whole thing.
Mayor can't go.
Mayor, he called you.
Yeah. And he claims there's nothing that we can do to stop it.
Well, Cottage
Our
Grove did not
lawyer
accept
says
it.
it's something completely
So
different.
you can't stop it.
That's what Cottage Grove said. What our lawyer said to him was, well, yeah, we can't stop it.
It's right in the middle of the township.
Can you guys talk into your mic?
Okay, so initially, the mayor said that there's nothing I can do to stop it. But our attorney, I talked to him and he thinks that there is a way to stop it, so.
The mayor said there's nothing we can do to stop it or nothing he can do.
Well, I wasn't talking about the lawyer.
Well, that's what I think we need to do is reach out to Myron Daly or something, because if they're not a willing player, then they shouldn't take it. Myron Daly, as an elected official, shouldn't be overstepping his jurisdiction.
He hasn't responded to me. I've sent
Right.
several
Say it again.
emails.
Bailey said there's nothing he could do to stop it, or there's nothing we could do to stop it?
Yeah.
Nothing we could do to stop it.
Yeah, okay, all right.
But that would mean in the terms that Bailey would want to go approve it.
Yeah, he'd be willing to
Yeah.
take it, yeah.
Yeah, to me, that his community should know what kind of person he is, and if he's.
Well, what it does is it takes away all the, our zoning controls. That's what it does.
Well, where's the gravel tax go?
What's that?
Where's the gravel tax go?
He'd go to Cottage Grove then.
Right. Exactly.
How is it, is it continuous? I mean, where does, is Cottage Grove wants to take over that part of it and this part of it?
Wants it to be annexed.
So,
Well, I'm sure Aggregate Industries went to Cottage Grove to the mayor and said, would you be willing to annex this if we apply for annexation?
so it would come from, they have to be continuous. You can't, yeah?
Not,
Yeah.
you know, the last two well, detachments for us, annexations that happened down here, Great Cloud got their butt handed to them. You know, on the lower island, you know, that was next to them. Gordy's thing, we lost that. Well, you know, you never know what's going to happen, because it goes to that Minnesota Municipal Board, the judge makes the decision, and, you know, so you really don't know where you're going to end up. But I would venture to say this, if a judge granted them to move their 600 acres over there, he's not just going to give them that 600 acres, you're going to give them the whole township.
Right.
Yeah, because what my question was is, where is it connected to Cottage Grove?
I don't know if
That
it has to
600
be.
acres
It's
has to
not.
be connected.
It's not.
So they could just cop land, Cottage Grove could just cop land and annex 600 acres over here, but not over there?
That,
No, they're not connected.
that all goes by what what do they call it, Minnesota Municipal Board decides.
How do we find out how far along the talks are, what's actually like formal with Cottage Grove and Folsom on this process?
Say that again.
Like, how do we find out how far along the process is, or how long they've been in talks, and how do we get involved in those conversations? How do we get a seat at the table?
Oh, they don't want us at the table.
All right, but
Would it be their planning commission? Like, when you go to their meetings, their public meetings?
Something like that is conversations right between the mayor and Folsom.
yeah, but if they're actually having formal talks on this, then I think, like you said, I think we need to start with going to public meeting and make sure the residents know what's going on also, and try and bring some heat, because
To be honest with you, I don't think the residents would care one way or the other.
I don't know.
Why would they?
Cottage Grove is.
They all,
Yeah.
well, St. Paul Park would, but yeah, maybe not Cottage Grove. I don't know. I think people are starting to see that Cottage Grove's lost all their trees, they lose everything. So now if you put together a plan on how they want to come down and just take all the way up to people's houses and stuff, the stuff we're trying to protect, I don't know. I think people are starting to
Can you
get,
make it some out, yeah, make it some groups like that.
I'd rather go down fighting than just here, you're gone, sorry. I mean, what's the point of Great Cloud Island then if they're, that's what they would have, everything that we've done and the variances, they would just get wiped out across the road, you name it.
So you can maybe bring in Friends of the Mississippi, potentially be a proponent for us as well.
They could. They tried at the last annexation. They were not successful.
They tried for the golf course too, with Cottage Grove, weren't successful, but
I'd ask the lawyer soon, what happens if you're annexed to all that money in the funds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that back to the taxpayers, or is that true?
That'd probably be all, well, what they say, there's two types of annexations, orderly annexation and what's the other type? Forced, I guess. If it was an orderly, you could probably discuss where the money went, negotiate where it went or what it's used for. If it's not an orderly one, then a judge would make the decision. No matter what, we won't be happy campers.
No, but you'd like to know where that's a big chunk of money.
Yeah.
What happens to that?
Yeah.
Well, there's no point of.
Another
You
reason
give up,
letter.
if we give up the 90 people, we might as well take the whole community. I mean, that's what we have left right here is to fight for Great Cloud, because there's literally, it's gone, and Cottage Grove doesn't care. They tear down every inch of trees there is, they take the money they need, and
I think as a resident, this is the first time hearing of it, so I don't know, just a township newsletter, to even get our own citizens aware of this and going to those Cottage Grove meetings or whatever it takes.
yeah,
We need something on paper yet, we don't have
Right.
anything.
right.
We can't,
It's gotta be on their planning commission meeting minutes or on their, we'll have to do some digging.
Should we have our clerk write Cottage Grove a letter and ask them where they're at on this or what's going on? See if we get a response. Can't hurt.
Would you mind doing that,
no,
Pam?
throw something out there.
Maybe just ask for a formal response on intent or something.
Yeah.
See, a lot of that stuff, they don't bring that to the planning commission and that, they don't go through the channels first. They get the parties
Not until it's done.
together to see if there's even a, what do you call it, some type of an agreement or willing agreement. And then if there is, then it goes forward through the channels in their city. And there's nothing stopping the mayor or anybody from doing that, you know.
But it's our job as citizens to make sure they hear our voice,
Yeah.
and people are aware, maybe people are okay with it, I don't know.
Okay, what else we got?
That's all I got.
Me too.
Should we,
Let's adjourn.
So we can adjourn this. Make a motion to adjourn.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.